Hey. Mr. Rock Solid.
Hey, man. I want you to know, I've said repeat.
Hello, Bill. Thanks for being here. Yeah. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I appreciate it. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. If you'd please rise and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. And Sean, will you please call roll?
Deputy Mayor Pelosa.
Here.
Councilmember Baggett.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Excused.
Councilmember DeCoursey.
Here.
Councilmember Holman.
Here.
Councilmember Trout Manuel.
I am unaware of status at this point. We'll make it unexcused until we hear otherwise.
Okay. Councilmember Wells.
Excused. All right, we have a couple of proclamations tonight, and that might give an opportunity for council members to arrive. So I'm going to go over to the podium, and the first one we're going to do is for Constitution Week. So Ms. Hilda knows the routine. She's already up here and ready. All right, so this is for Constitution Week. This is something that we are proud to have proclaimed for the last many, many years, and proud to continue the tradition. So whereas September 17th, 2019 marks the 232nd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas in 1955, the National Society Daughters of the American Revolution petitioned Congress with a resolution. This week of observance for the foundation of the American form of government was signed into law by President Dwight D. Eisenhower on August 2nd, 1956. George W. Bush officially declared the inception of Constitution Week in 2002, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through September 23rd as Constitution Week, and whereas patriotic celebrations are held to commemorate and emphasize the responsibility of citizens for protecting and defending the Constitution, and now therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2019 as Constitution Week in the City of Auburn, and ask residents to study the Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American with all the rights and the responsibilities which that privilege involves. Dated this 3rd day of September 2019. And Hilda, we always appreciate you and your efforts in our community for ensuring that we uphold the laws as well as be proud of our Constitution. So I would like to give you the proclamation, and I'm sure you have a few words that you would like to say.
I do, thank you. Thank you, Nancy. What the Constitution means to me. It makes women equal with all men before the law. There was a time that women were not allowed to vote. On November 15th, 1917, women picketed in front of the White House carrying signs asking for the vote. They were jailed. By the end of that night, that first night in jail, those women were barely alive. 40 prison guards were with clubs and their warden's blessings went on a rampage against the 33 women wrongly convicted of obstructing sidewalk traffic. The 19th Amendment was proposed on June 4th, 1919, and ratified on August 18th, 1920, that women were granted the right to go to the polls and vote. In 1920, Washington State voted to send the 19th Amendment to Congress for ratification. So I often wonder, do our daughters and our sisters know the price that was paid to earn the right to vote for women? In the 1940s, when I was a little girl, I went with my mother to a little country church at North Avenue, Mount Vernon, Washington, so she could vote. We walked down the stairs to the basement, and there was a few polling booths. I went with her into the booth, and she pulled the curtain that went to her waist, and she voted. I can still visualize that today. My mother's vote was heard through her ballot. Ladies, we can hold an office if we qualify. Here stands Nancy Backus, our first female mayor of Auburn. And then there's Yolanda and Largo on the city council. So ladies, we've come a long ways. Yes, we have. So Lakota chapter and the Daughters of the American Revolution, thank you for the proclamation. And Nancy, I want to present you with a little bell. You can ring that on Constitution Day. And at 2 o'clock, that's when they signed the
2 o'clock.
Constitution. Yes.
On the 17th?
Yes.
All right. I will practice in advance. Thank you, Hilda. Please go forward and accept the appreciation of council.
I always look forward to
Oh, hi, John. Hey, I'll give you a bell. Sherman. Hey, how you doing, Bill? How you still taking your lots of medication? Hi, there you go. How you doing? I have one here for you too.
Well, thank you very much.
Did you sign it at 2 o'clock?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I'll give you one too. See you, Cal. Thank you. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Hilda.
And how are you?
Thank you so much, Hilda, and thank you for all of your work in our community. And next on our proclamation list this evening is for National Recovery Month. And I believe we have a few organizations that are represented here tonight. King County Behavioral Health and Recovery Division, Kathleen Murphy. Ray of Hope, Debbie Christian. And Ukrainian Community Center of Washington, Oleg Pinda. Please come forward. And if there is anyone here for National Recovery Month that I missed, please feel free to come forward as well. Right. So we have a proclamation. I have one for each of you as well. Whereas behavioral health is an essential part of health and one's overall wellness. Whereas prevention of mental and/or substance use disorders works, treatment is effective, and people recover in our area and around the nation. And whereas preventing and overcoming mental and/or substance use disorders are essential to achieving healthy lifestyles, both physically and emotionally, we must recognize the 4 dimensions of recovery from mental health and substance use disorders: health, home, purpose, and community. And whereas we must encourage relatives and friends of people with mental and/or substance use disorders to implement preventative measures, recognize the signs of a problem, and guide those in need to the appropriate treatment and recovery support services. And whereas an estimated 400,000 people in King County are affected by these conditions. And whereas to help more people achieve and sustain long-term recovery, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, and our local agencies, King County Behavioral Health and Recovery Division, Battlefield Addiction, Downtown Emergency Services Center, Health Point, Nexus Youth and Family, Ray of Hope, Ukrainian Community Center of Washington, and the City of Auburn invite all residents of Auburn to participate in National Recovery Month. And now, therefore, I, Nancy Backus, Mayor of the City of Auburn, do hereby proclaim September 2019 as National Recovery Month. Let's join together to observe this month with appropriate programs, activities, and ceremonies to support this year's National Recovery Month and message that together we are stronger. Dated this third day of September 2019. And I'm assuming each of you has something to say. Debbie, I will start with you. Kathleen. Thank you.
Never turn down the microphone, right? So thank you for this. We feel like we are not the mental health or the recovery centers, but we are working with the people who need to be there. And so if we can be that conduit to get them from point A to point B, that's what we're trying. We've had several make it, and being able to send them to places in Yakima and Everett and get them into treatment centers has been very helpful. And so it's been exciting to see someone change their life. And we're very grateful for Battlefield Addiction and Valley Cities and Nexus to be right here in Auburn with us, so that they are good connections for us and we can get help for our people.
Thank you very much. I'm Kathleen Murphy. I'm the Behavioral Health Recovery Specialist at King County's Behavioral Health and Recovery Division. On behalf of the Behavioral Health and Recovery Division and the citizens of Auburn, I thank you so much for your leadership and your support of mental health and substance use recovery, and for proclaiming September 2019 National Recovery Month. I also want to recognize the people in recovery and those who are still suffering along with their family members. We all know that when families and individuals are ashamed of what's going on in their life with regard to their substance use issues or mental health, that stigma oftentimes prevents them from asking for help. And we want to be making sure that we have communities where people feel safe to ask for what they need, and also for people to feel supported by their community members. I'm grateful that we do have providers here representing the great work that the community is doing to support people in recovery, and also want to recognize that there may be people among us who are in recovery or supporting a family member. Myself, I am in recovery from mental health and substance use issues, and without the support of providers, people in recovery, and strong community, I don't think that I would be where I am today. So again, I'm very grateful. Thank you so much, Mayor Backus and honorable council members, for your support.
Thank you.
I'll just be really short. I'm representative of the Ukrainian Community Center, which is a grassroots organization that provide assistance to the refugee and immigrants. And I guess we are the first one grassroots organization that start providing mental health services, was extremely challenging because in the most countries that refugees are here, mental health being used as a tool to abuse those people who arrived here. So that's why the huge stigma, huge barriers, and we're happy that slowly barriers are dissolving. And we are really appreciative for the city of Auburn that became a new home country to the new arrivals, and for the whole support that you provide in this matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if the three of you would please go forward and accept the appreciation of council for the work that you do in helping those amongst us that are in need.
Let's both reach.
And what they all said is so true. There is a stigma that we must remove from from those who are willing to reach out and receive the treatment that they so desperately need. And when we can look our fellow human in the eyes and not judge because of where they are in their journey, but to support them through the recovery, then we are truly successful in our compassion and our love for our fellow human beings. And so thank you all for the work that you do on behalf of those who need the assistance and for encouraging everyone to remove the stigma from that assistance. So thank you very much. All right, next on our agenda this evening, we have one appointment, and that is to the Auburn Tourism Board. City Council to confirm the appointment of Philip Hernandez to the Auburn Tourism Board for a 3-year term to expire December 31st, 2021. Do we have a motion? Do we have a Deputy Mayor Pelosa?
Thank you, Mayor. I move for to approve the Auburn Tourism Board appointment of Philip Hernandez.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Baggett.
Second that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of the appointment of Philip Hernandez to the Auburn Tourism Board for a 3-year term to expire December 31st, 2021, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, Sean, do we have any agenda modifications this evening?
No, Your Honor.
All right, moving on to public hearings. We have one public hearing this evening for franchise agreement number FRN 19-0014. City Council to hold a public hearing in consideration of that franchise agreement for New Singular Wireless PCS LLC. Ingrid, is there any staff presentation?
No staff presentation tonight. It was discussed at the August 26th study session, but happy to answer any questions if council has them.
All right. Council, are there any questions before we open the public hearing? All right, I will open the public hearing for franchise agreement number FRN 19-0014. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the franchise agreement? Anyone? Yes, please come forward, give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Greg Bush. I'm with Wireless Policy Group, and I'm here tonight on behalf of AT&T. Wireless Policy Group's offices are in Issaquah, and it's a long address, so I think I'll skip that part. I wrote it down on the sign-in sheet. So I'd like to thank the council and mayor for the opportunity to speak, and I'd like to thank staff for their tireless effort and energy that went into reviewing the franchise agreement. AT&T is excited to lay the groundwork for improved wireless service as we begin to roll out 5G and improving coverage in the Auburn area. Small wireless facilities are critical to keep up with the demands of our increasingly connected society on our cellular networks. And as coverage improves, we look forward to providing increases in first responder capability and ability to provide increased data capacity and throughput as we move forward into the next generation of wireless technology. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak, and I'm available if council has any questions.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak at the public hearing for the franchise agreement for New Singular Wireless? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing and we will move to audience participation. This is the place on the agenda where the public is invited to speak to the City Council on any issue. Those wishing to speak are reminded to sign in on the form provided, and please limit comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Please come forward.
Timothy Miller, homeless, and that's what I want to talk about, is the homeless. I got a thing here for each one of the council, but the homeless problem with the RVs, the campers, the tents, ain't just us, okay? I choose to stay on the streets instead of the shelters for the simple case, scabies, bed bugs,
Yes, he did.
okay? They don't get issued, and sexual harassment from the day center. My fiance was sexually harassed by staff at the day center. I took it to the person who in charge, and nothing was done except for they have to apologize. That is not how you handle business, especially a public place like that. And like I got in here, if they won't take responsibility, who will? My propose is Auburn owns land. Give us an acre of land for all the motorhomes, tents, campers that are homeless to park. As far as the trash, I'll make sure it's picked up. All we're asking for is porta potties, a trash can to put the trash in, like one of the green dumpsters. Both of them be picked up and cleaned. We'll take care of the rest. This way, the PD don't have to look around for everybody. We're all in one spot. And it'll cut down on the traffic at night walking around, because they'll have a place to keep their tent without the cops tearing it down. Auburn PD. You know, this is just a few of the problems that's out there for us. All my friends that was going to be here are afraid of being in trouble, I should say. From the day center being kicked out, for one. Two, PD messing with them more. I mean, this is ongoing. And according to the RCWs in the state of Washington, I'm allowed to disconnect from my trailer, my camping trailer, level it, stay there for 24 hours on a street. But according to Auburn PD, I'm not even allowed to disconnect. How am I supposed to find a job? Who's going to hire somebody that's pulling a camping trailer to the job site? See, this is the stuff. I'm willing to work. I want to get off Social Security. But how? This is just some of it. I mean, it's really bad out there. And until, honestly, everybody stays out there for 90 days and sees just how bad it really is, they don't know. We understand. No, you don't. I thought I understood until I got there. I owned my house in Florida. I owned everything I ever had. Now, I'm scraping to make it because I only make $750 a month. Where can I rent a place for me and my fiance? Everybody says, oh, share housing. You don't share a house with somebody when you have a fiance.
Okay, Mr. Miller, I'm going to have to ask you to wrap up. 10 minutes are.
These are for you guys?
If you give them to the city clerk, she will make sure
Who's
that
the
they
city
get
clerk?
passed out. Right, is there anyone else that would, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Hi, good evening. I don't know if this is the right venue to be at, but I'm a resident of Auburn, live over on F Street, and I had,
We need your name and address for the record, sir.
okay, Roy Armstrong, 816 F Street, Southeast Auburn, Washington. Anyway, back in March, I had a water leak, and thank goodness to Auburn with their new system, they let me know. It was a toilet that was running in the back of the property. But since then, there's been another issue that has gone on since then. And currently, or I was notified in July that this situation was going on. So it ran from April, May, June, and then I finally saw, they called me. I didn't see the voicemail because I was out of town on business. And then I got also got a letter. But what's happened now is I have another $1,400 water bill due in September here coming up. I've already paid $5,000 to water because of this leak. So I called and asked for an adjustment, and they said because it was not in the 60-day window that I didn't resolve it, that there's no adjustment. So I filled out the online form. So I'm just asking for some extra help. this leak was in the backyard. And with our water billing, we get water coming in and then we get billed for water going out. Well, this water didn't even go out the drain. So anyway, that's my dilemma. So hope somebody can help.
So our finance director, Jamie Thomas, will be happy to speak with you about the issue and see if there's any type of an adjustment or what process we might be able to follow for you, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Please come forward, give your name and address for the record.
Hello, my name is Mike Ward, 2536 I Street Northeast, which is also known as the Ray of Hope. I needed the Ray of Hope. I was at a point in my life where I was homeless. I had mental and physical problems, and it just coincides with Recovery Month, and I'm very grateful. But through that, I have a place to shower, shave, sleep, and I'm very proud of it. It's not what I would have wished when I was 21, 22 for my life to be, but it's where I'm at right now. And I give back. I work at the Auburn Food Bank with Debbie. I work with the Ray of Hope. I'm a staff member there. And she's given me a tremendous opportunity for this to be. I'm slowly working the steps to become who I used to be. And it's a big thing to have a shower. You know, I got one today. Thank you, thank you. But, you know, it is. And I was used to my own house, taking showers, coffee, this and that. I can now get 3 meals a day. I can help with the community, and it's building me back to what I used to be. And I really, really enjoy it. And I was given opportunities, and I hate the word taken advantage of. I used it. I'm not taking advantage of what's going on. I'm using what is given to me, and if I need more, I do have support from people in here to keep doing that. There's people that are not homeless, and they're helping me. And it's very important for me to get back to a human being again. The stigma of being homeless is not there. There are people out there that try to do what they can, and they need a little help. And by getting that help, it has rewarded me tremendous success. And I want to continue to build it, and thanks to these people out here, I'm going to be able to do that. But I have to use it. I can't take advantage. I hate the word advantage. I use it to be who I can be. And I appreciate letting me talk, and I appreciate everything that's going on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, God, bear with me. I'm not used to speaking in front of people. I get really nervous. So if I stutter a little bit, that's okay. But anyway, about a year and a half ago,
Sir, I'm sorry, I don't want to make you any more nervous, but if I could get your name and
sorry
address for the
about
record.
that. My name's Ken Washington, and my address is pretty much what he said. So I can't remember it. But anyway, about a year and a half ago, I came up here. I used to live in the state all my life, but I was living down in California for about 5 years in the high desert, not a town called Victorville. And I lived out there for 5 years, and I decided to come back up here on the assumption my family was going to help me out, and of course they didn't. And I've never been homeless in my life, ever. Never even came close. And then I found myself in a homeless situation, like I didn't know what to do, you know. I mean, the first night I slept over by the Federal Way Transit Center, by a power box there, you know, and it was really getting to me because I also went off my medications because I got paranoid schizophrenia, but I take medication for that. But I was in and out of mental hospitals for a while because I was on suicide watch, and I went to I was at the, I think Crisis Solutions Center, and they actually had some, like, put a ray of hope there when they discharged me. Never been there, never heard of it, so I went to go check it out. You know, I jumped on a bus, I went out there, and when I went there, the people there were so nice. I mean, Lauren and Chris and Debbie and Kyle, you know, just to name a few. You know, they made me feel welcome there. You know, I mean, I was scared. I mean, I was a wreck. And, you know, they comforted me. I felt comfortable there. I felt like they treat me like a human being. I wasn't treated like a second-class citizen. So, like I said, I wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for Ray Hope. I'd probably be dead or something. And like I said, it's just I'd like to thank you folks for taking me in the way you did. So, but like I said, it's a great program. I mean, right now, I've actually got resources to get housing, and there wasn't no light at the end of the tunnel. Now there's light. So, all right, that's pretty much all I got to say right now. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
My name is Bob Holt. I live at 10417 Southeast 302nd, and thanks for allowing me to speak today. I'm retired. I've lived in the South County area all my life. I've lived in Auburn since mid-80s, my wife and I. We raised our son here. He went to Auburn High School, and he's well on his way to being a success, raising his family. I retired about 10 years ago. And I felt and still feel it's important to give back to the community. So I decided I had a little bit of history with food banks where I worked before. So I went in and met Debbie. Come to think of it, we had met each other many, many years ago on watching our sons play baseball. But anyway, she hired me, and that was about 6 years ago or something like that. And there's been quite a few changes at the food bank. There's going to be hopefully a tremendous change in the food bank and the other support entities that have the opportunity to be housed in one location. You've heard a couple of stories of one individual who's still struggling. I contend another individual that is still struggling. I contend that we are all struggling. And I think we all have an obligation to help our fellow citizens. I can't tell you how much I've learned more about myself working at the Auburn Food Bank than other people. I thoroughly enjoy it. Not every minute, but I thoroughly enjoy it. It's a great place. It has a wonderful mission, as does a lot of, I would hope the other entities that hopefully are housed in this location that we have an opportunity to get. And it's not going to be easy. Involved with the food bank in the past, I was on a committee that formed something very similar that we're going through right now. And it sounds like you guys have done a lot of the lead stuff to begin with, and now I just implore you to sign that lease. It's gonna get harder. And the thing is, it's supposed to be hard. This isn't easy stuff. We all know the folks and have seen the folks that are out on the streets that struggle. I have watched them, talked to them, seen them come through the food bank. And the thing is, I look into each one of their eyes, and if you don't think that the homeless are not paying a price, they are paying a tremendous price. And through a lot of their eyes, I see fear. And that's just not right. They're paying a tremendous price going through whatever they're going through now. We have an opportunity to help them. So I'm just here to support you guys and encourage you to sign that. And I will be willing to help.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Anyone else? Final time?
Well, I hadn't intended to speak. I'm Lynn Snyder, and I work with the Thursday night dinner. Thank you for hearing us. I live in Enumclaw, but we lived most of our life here in Auburn, raised our kids. I teach in Enumclaw. I teach up at Chinook Elementary. And over the years, we just see growing numbers of people in need. And I can tell you, I was so encouraged a couple weeks ago when you came to hear from the attendees of our dinner, like, how can the city help? Because in Enumclaw, we have also growing numbers and are trying to figure out what to do. So I look at the city of Auburn as a mentor to the cities around it. And I just want to tell you, I appreciate this. I appreciate the work of the food bank and the ways in which they're trying to multitask, and with your help, put it all in one place. It's heartbreaking to see just growing numbers of people in need. And then to hear the success stories, how wonderful to be that ray of hope, how wonderful to say, here's a place where you can have a shower, here's a place where you can get a meal. It's like we have all the little pieces, and then to put them together. In Enumclaw, we're trying to work the same problem, and there is fear. There is fear of rising numbers of homeless. A statistic we just got from the school district there is 212 homeless kids. So city of Auburn, I don't know how many we have, but I see them in my school. I see the faces of the parents. And so when I think of people who are homeless being fearful, I see the people looking at them also fearful. And I don't know what to do with that fear. I mean, I'm a Christian, and I know that God doesn't want us to live in fear. I don't know how we would have continued to have our dinner all these years if we just let fear rule us. The food shows up, the help will show up, the people will help the programs to run, because everybody wants it to be a success. So thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Seeing none, we will move on. I don't believe we have any correspondence this evening.
No, Your Honor.
Council Ad Hoc Committee reports. Council Ad Hoc Committee chairs may report on the status of their ad hoc council committee's progress on assigned tasks and may give their recommendation to the City Council, if any. We have one ad hoc committee, that is Finance. And do we have anyone here tonight to give the report? Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Wales and I reviewed the claims vouchers dated September 3rd, 2019, in the amount of approximately $1.38 million. We found everything to be in good order, and would ask the council to approve that. Also reviewed the payroll vouchers for the period covering August 15th through August 28th, 2019, in the amount of approximately $2.7 million, and we found those in good order as well.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda. All matters listed on the consent agenda are considered by the City Council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Pelosa.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember DeCoursey?
I'll second the motion, Your Honor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Pelosa.
Thank you, Mayor. The consent agenda contains the August 19th council meeting minutes, claim vouchers that were mentioned to a total amount of $1.4 million, covering the payroll vouchers, and then setting a public hearing for the Community Development Block Grant Consolidated Plan.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes. All right, we have no unfinished business. We have no new business. We will move on to resolutions. Mr. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution number 5447, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, related to forfeited property, declaring forfeited real property as surplus, and authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute agreements.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Deputy Mayor Pelosi.
Thank you, Mayor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 5447.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Holman.
Second.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Pelosi.
Yes, Mayor. Oftentimes, we have these type of surplus properties come before the council, and this is the protocol to do it.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 5447, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Resolution 5451, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, setting a public hearing to consider the vacation of right-of-way of 130th Avenue Southeast between Southeast 304th Street and Southeast 302nd Place within the City of Auburn, Washington.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember DeCoursey.
I move to adopt Resolution 5451.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Holman.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember DeCoursey.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a vacation requested by the Auburn School District for an unopened right-of-way, as the city mayor described. And this application has been reviewed by city staff and all the utility purveyors, and there is no issue with it. And staff has determined the right-of-way is no longer necessary to meet the needs of the city and can be vacated.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? All those in favor of resolution number 5451, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. Passes.
Resolution number 5453, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Auburn, Washington, authorizing the mayor to negotiate and execute agreements related to the Auburn Consolidated Resource Center.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Councilmember Holman.
I move to adopt resolution number 5453.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Councilmember Baghead.
I'll second that, Your Honor.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
Resolution 5453 was discussed at length at our August 22nd or 26th study session, and it grants the mayor to, or authorizes the mayor to negotiate and execute agreements related to the Auburn Consolidated Resource Center, which you heard several people speak in favor of tonight. It's been a long time coming. Auburn's been working on a one-stop shop concept through two administrations, several iterations of council members, and it's finally all coming together. We needed a non-residential area on public transportation line, large enough to host many of the services that are now disjointed and moved around about the city. And quite honestly, we needed a facility that was in our price range, and this fits the bill. So we wish you well in your negotiations for us.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments? All those in favor of resolution number 5453, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say no. It passes. Council, I want to thank you for your courage, for your tenacity in order to make this Auburn Consolidated Resource Center the reality that we have needed in this community for so very long. You have stuck with us. For those of you in the audience that volunteer or work at the food bank or at the Ray of Hope or the Sundown, or for those of you that utilize the services that are there, not take advantage of, but utilize the services, I want to thank you for sticking with us as well, and for believing that this day would become a reality. We can now do what we know is the right thing in this community, because everyone who is here is one of us. And so thank you. Team Auburn, thank you for all of the work that you have done. This has not been an easy road, but with all of your help, with your belief in this, we are going to make this happen, and it is going to be a center that we can all be proud of. And Debbie, I've said it before, but you are an angel walking the face of this earth, and we are so blessed to have you. And so I want to say thank you to every one of you that has done something to make this a reality. Councilmember DeCoursey.
This is very emotional. When the mayor first mentioned this to me, I literally got goosebumps, and it was like, wow, this is such a tremendous thing we've been working on, and to be able to put something like this together, and as Councilmember Holman said, in the location that it's at, you couldn't ask for anything other than, you know, the blessings of heaven opening up and coming down on the face of the earth. Homelessness is personal, because I have a family member, my daughter, who experienced homelessness for 5 years. And it was very hard on her, my wife, myself, the rest of our family members. But she's on the road to recovery as well, because she's getting the mental health treatment she needs. She has a place to live, and her life is moving forward. So, gentlemen, ladies, okay, it is personal, and it touches everybody. And as we go forward, this will touch everybody, not just in our city, but everybody in our region who'll know what Auburn has done and what can be accomplished by tenacity, efforts, good work, and an undying opportunity to be able to help when help is needed.
Councilmember Baggett.
I just have 3 words to add to this. Let's do it.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Pelosa.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a long time coming. This is a very monumental council meeting, and I'm glad to see that 4 of us were here tonight to pass this. And that property, we've had problems in the past in that property, and this will really clean it up and make it a true one-stop shop. Many of the cities around us do not have this wonderful opportunity as a one-stop shop. So we're going to be on the leading edge again, as the city of Auburn is on many, many, many policy events. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Bless you. All right, that concludes the business portion of our meeting this evening, and at this time, the mayor and city council may report on significant items associated with their appointed positions on federal, state, regional, and local organizations, and we will begin with the deputy mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. On Saturday, the 24th of August, I attended, on behalf of the mayor, a Filipino heritage celebration at the Neely Mansion here in Auburn. And the primary purpose of all of this was honoring the Costa family who migrated, and they worked at the Neely Mansion in the agricultural area. So this was a great event, and the Filipino community should be proud of what they have done for the city of Auburn and surrounding area. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Baggett.
No report, but stay tuned for the next one.
All right. Councilmember DeCoursey.
I don't have a report, but I do have a comment to make, and in relation to our Constitution Week. So our Constitution was dated September 17th, 1789. And an interesting thing about women's rights was back in my hometown, my sister city of Johnstown, New York, was the home of a very famous woman who pioneered women's rights, so Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And there's a tremendous display back there related to her work. Unfortunately, she was born in the early 1800s, and she passed away in 1902. So she died before the women received the right to vote. But a lot of her work was very instrumental in moving women's rights forward and other opportunities to make everything equal. So even back at that time, well over 117 years ago, this woman was a pioneer, and she did a lot of work that is still remembered today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Holman.
No report, Your Honor.
All right, well, just a couple of items. On Thursday, the 22nd of August, I attended the Pioneer Cemetery dedication. This was a very moving event as we were installing some new Ginza statues that had long been missing from the Pioneer Cemetery. One of the stories that was told that night, the cemetery was for those typically of Japanese ancestry. And as you're all aware, during World War II, the Japanese were interned in camps. Well, during their internments, those descendants knew that they still needed to take care of the cemetery where their relatives had been buried. And so while in those camps, they collected money from others who had their relatives buried there and sent the money home to Auburn to a sympathetic neighbor. That neighbor would then use that money to ensure that the cemetery was well maintained during their absence. Now, that is community in its purest form. When, while you're interned, you still want to do something for your city and for your ancestors, and then also those who were left behind here in the city to be willing to be bold enough and brave enough to do that work. I think the families that attended the dedication that night were proud of their heritage. We are proud that many of them still live in Auburn, and we are so proud of that restored cemetery and what it means to our entire community. I also want to just share a moment. I attended the memorial service on Saturday, August 24th, of Barbie Sherrard. Barbie was a teacher in this community, and at First United Methodist Church, it was overflowing and standing room only as people, friends, family came to celebrate the life well lived of a woman who gave so much to her community, not simply through teaching, but she was also a member of the Arts Commission for several years. She was a true artist. I didn't realize that she loved to decorate the table before a big family meal with all different types of interesting creations that she had made. It was very moving, again, to be there to hear what Barbie Sherrard meant to so many in our community, and her beloved husband, Daryl. It's hard for me to say Daryl because he was my teacher in junior high, and he was Mr. Sherrard and will always be Mr. Sherrard to me. But he has been the piano accompanist and organist for weddings, funerals, celebrations of many types in this community for decades. And he honored his wife by continuing that tradition of being the pianist and the organist during her celebration of life. And so our hearts and our thoughts go out to the family. And one final thing actually two. On Sunday, I attended the Church of Nazarene One Neighborhood open house. They're down on 29th and M Street Southeast. And once a year, they open up their parking lot. They have food like you would not believe. And they go around doing outreach to many blocks of neighbors around them, inviting them in, not to hear preaching, but to feel part of the community and to know that they are welcome. And those types of events are so indicative of what we do here in Auburn. We are not going to ever let our community be overran by hate. We will always consider that love is the answer and that grace and dignity are the way that we move ourselves forward. And tomorrow morning, I will be in Seattle for a press conference at 10:30 with King County Executive Dow Constantine and Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkin to announce an interlocal agreement between King County and the city of Seattle. The other cities have not signed on yet, but this is for a regional governance model for homelessness. What is happening right now in all of our communities is unfathomable. And so we also know that what we're doing right now in most cases is not working. Evidenced by, Mayor Durkin would say it, evidenced by what you see on the streets in Seattle. We are not Seattle, but we are part of a community that does have a homeless population, and we want to be part of that solution. We are not always academic in our approach here in Auburn, but we do know that what we do works, and we will continue to do so, and we will be a voice in this new regional governance model to ensure that sub-areas are listened to and that it is not one size fits all for how we deal with the issues in our communities. So I am very proud to be there tomorrow to say basically that same thing, that we will continue to work together, but it is not always academic in nature. It is human always in nature. Mr. City Attorney, do we have any need for a closed or executive session this evening?
No, Your Honor.
With that, we are adjourned.